In today's world, everyone is talking about their problems, talking about their plans, talking about their pain, talking about what they want others to see. But very few people are listening, and even fewer are listening to their own heart. There was once a young man who came to a monk and said, "Why does my life feel so noisy, even when I am alone?" The monk smiled and replied, "Because you have not learned the art of staying silent. You see, silence is not about closing your mouth. Silence is about opening your awareness. When the mind is constantly speaking, how will the soul ever be heard?" We live in a time where people react instantly. Someone criticizes, we react. Someone misunderstands, we react. Someone ignores us, we react. But wisdom does not react. Wisdom responds, or sometimes it remains silent. Let me share something very simple yet powerful. When a seed is planted in the soil, does it make noise while growing? No, it grows silently, and yet one day it breaks through the soil and becomes something beautiful. Your life works the same way. Not everything needs an announcement. Not every plan needs validation. Not every emotion needs expression. Some things need time, patience, and silence. Many people speak too soon. They share their dreams before they are ready. They explain themselves to people who never wanted to understand them. And when things don't work out, they feel discouraged, disappointed, and broken. Silence protects your energy. Silence protects your purpose. There is a reason why deep rivers flow quietly, while shallow waters make the most noise. When you stay silent, you start observing. When you observe, you start understanding. And when you understand, you stop suffering unnecessarily. Let me tell you, not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Sometimes the best answer is no answer. Sometimes the strongest reply is a calm smile. Sometimes walking away silently is more powerful than winning an argument. Ego wants to prove, wisdom wants peace, and peace is priceless. When you stop reacting, life starts responding. People often ask, "How do I find clarity? How do I find direction? How do I find myself?" The answer is simple but not easy. Stay silent long enough to hear your inner voice. Silence is where intuition speaks. Silence is where healing happens. Silence is where God whispers. You don't need to chase everything. You don't need to control everything. You don't need to force outcomes. Life has its own intelligence. When you focus on doing the right thing quietly, the right things start happening naturally. Remember this: the sun does not shout to shine. The flower does not scream to bloom. The moon does not compete to glow. They simply do their work silently. So when life tests you, when people misunderstand you, when results take time, stay silent. Not because you are weak, but because you are growing. And one day, without shouting, without explaining, without proving. Many people grow up believing that the loudest voice in the room is the strongest one. From childhood, we are taught to speak up, answer back, defend ourselves, and prove our point. Slowly, without realizing it, we begin to associate silence with fear, with insecurity, with defeat. But silence is not weakness. In fact, silence is often the clearest sign of inner strength. It takes courage to remain calm when everything inside you wants to react. It takes maturity to pause when the world expects a reply. And it takes deep strength to stay silent when you know that explaining yourself will change nothing. Think about daily life. When someone speaks harshly to us, the first impulse is to respond immediately. The mind races, the ego feels attacked, and words rise to the tongue. But have you noticed what usually happens when we react in anger? The situation rarely improves. One word leads to another, the tone rises, emotions take control, and a small issue becomes a big wound. Now imagine a different response. Imagine choosing silence, not out of fear, but out of understanding. You take a breath. You allow the other person to finish. You remain composed. Suddenly, the power shifts. The fire finds no fuel. The storm loses its force. That silence is not weakness, it is mastery over yourself. In families, this strength is tested every day. Parents and children, husbands and wives, siblings and relatives, misunderstandings are natural. There are moments when words can heal, but there are also moments when words can only hurt more. A strong person knows the difference. When a parent stays silent instead of scolding in anger, that silence carries patience. When a partner listens quietly instead of interrupting, that silence carries respect. When a sibling walks away instead of fighting, that silence carries love. Only a strong heart can choose peace over momentary satisfaction. Look at the workplace. Someone takes credit for your work. Someone misunderstands your intention. Someone criticizes you unfairly. The weak mind reacts impulsively, either by arguing loudly or by carrying resentment silently. But inner strength chooses a different path. It chooses conscious silence, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of confidence. You know your worth. You know your effort. You know that time reveals truth better than arguments ever will. When you stop trying to convince everyone, you start conserving your energy. And that energy, when focused on growth, speaks far louder than words. Nature teaches us this lesson beautifully. The tallest mountains stand quietly. They do not announce their height. The deepest oceans remain calm on the surface. They do not advertise their depth. Only shallow streams make constant noise. Similarly, people who are secure within themselves do not feel the need to constantly justify, explain, or prove. Their silence comes from self-trust. They are at peace with who they are, even if others misunderstand them. Silence also becomes strength in moments of pain. When life disappoints us, when efforts do not give immediate results, when dreams take longer than expected, the mind becomes restless. We want to complain, compare, and question. But there is a quiet strength in accepting the phase, doing what is needed, and trusting the process. A person who can sit silently with discomfort, without running away or blaming the world, develops resilience. That resilience becomes the foundation for future success. Even in spiritual growth, silence plays a powerful role. When the mind is constantly busy talking, thinking, worrying, it cannot hear wisdom. Silence creates space. In that space, clarity arises. You begin to understand your reactions, your patterns, your fears. You begin to see life as it is, not as your emotions color it. This ability to observe without reacting is one of the greatest strengths a human being can develop. Silence also teaches humility. Sometimes we realize that not every battle is ours to fight. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. When you stay silent, you give life the chance to teach others what you were trying to explain. And often, life does a better job than we ever could. True silence is not avoidance. It is awareness. It is choosing peace over pride, wisdom over impulse, long-term harmony over short-term victory. It is knowing that your value does not decrease just because someone fails to see it. It is trusting that what truly belongs to you will not be taken away by silence. So the next time you feel the urge to react, pause. Ask yourself whether the response will bring peace or just noise. Remember that silence is not losing your voice, it is finding your strength. And when your silence comes from understanding rather than fear, it becomes one of the most powerful expressions of inner strength you will ever know. In life, most of our confusion does not come from a lack of intelligence. It comes from reacting too quickly. The mind jumps to conclusions, emotions take control, and before we know it, we have spoken words or taken actions that we later regret. Reacting feels natural because it is instant, but clarity is never instant. Clarity arrives when we slow down, when we pause, and when we give ourselves the space to understand what is really happening. Reacting less is not about becoming passive, it is about becoming conscious. Think about a simple daily situation. You receive a message that feels rude or cold. Immediately, the mind starts creating stories. Why did they say it like that? What did I do wrong? They don't respect me. Without clarity, the fingers rush to type a reply. But if you pause, if you choose not to react immediately, something interesting happens. The emotional charge begins to settle. You reread the message with a calmer mind. You realize it might not have been intentional. Or you decide that a calm response tomorrow is better than an emotional one today. That small pause gives you clarity, and that clarity saves the relationship. In traffic, reactions happen every second. Someone cuts you off. Instantly, anger rises. Horns blare, words are shouted, the heart rate increases. But what changes? Nothing, except your inner peace is disturbed. Now imagine choosing not to react. You slow your breath, let the moment pass, and move on. The situation ends in seconds, but your peace remains intact. This is clarity in action. You understand that your peace is more valuable than proving a point to a stranger you will never meet again. Reacting less also brings clarity in relationships. When someone close to you says something hurtful, reacting immediately often leads to blame and defensiveness. But when you step back, you begin to see deeper. Maybe they are stressed. Maybe they are afraid. Maybe their words are not about you at all. Clarity allows you to respond with empathy instead of anger, and empathy heals where reactions only create distance. At work, reacting without clarity can damage trust built over years. A critical comment from a manager can feel like an attack, but reacting emotionally can close doors. When you pause, reflect, and choose a thoughtful response, you gain insight. You separate feedback from ego. You see what can help you grow and ignore what does not serve you. That clarity transforms criticism into a tool instead of a wound. Even with ourselves, reacting too much creates confusion. We react to failure by doubting ourselves. We react to comparison by feeling inadequate. We react to delay by feeling anxious. Each reaction adds noise to the mind. When you react less, you begin to observe your thoughts instead of believing every one of them. You notice patterns. You see that emotions rise and fall on their own if you do not cling to them. This awareness brings clarity about who you truly are beyond temporary feelings. Clarity also improves decision making. When emotions are high, decisions are poor. We buy things we don't need, say yes when we should say no, and commit to paths that don't align with us. By reacting less, we create a gap between impulse and action. In that gap, wisdom enters. You begin to ask better questions. Is this necessary? Is this aligned with my values? Will this matter in the long run? Clarity turns impulsive choices into intentional ones. Reacting less does not mean suppressing emotions. Emotions are natural. Clarity comes from allowing emotions to be felt without letting them control behavior. When sadness arises, you acknowledge it instead of drowning in it. When anger arises, you observe it instead of acting it out. Over time, this practice strengthens emotional intelligence. You become less controlled by circumstances and more guided by understanding. In moments of conflict, clarity becomes your greatest ally. While others react loudly, you remain centered. While others rush to conclusions, you listen. This ability to remain calm gives you a broader perspective. You see the whole picture, not just one frame. And often, people begin to trust your presence because they sense that you respond from thoughtfulness, not impulse. Life itself becomes clearer when reactions reduce. The mind is like water. When it is disturbed, it becomes muddy. When it is still, it reflects reality as it is. Reacting less allows the mind to settle. In that stillness, solutions appear naturally. Problems that once felt overwhelming begin to look manageable. Confusion fades and direction emerges. When you choose clarity over reaction, you choose peace over chaos. You choose understanding over assumption. You choose long-term well-being over short-term release. Slowly, you realize that reacting less is not about controlling life. It is about understanding it. And in that understanding, clarity becomes your natural state, guiding your words, actions, and choices with quiet confidence. In a world that constantly pulls our attention in every direction, protecting our energy has become one of the most important yet overlooked skills in daily life. Every conversation, every argument, every explanation, and every emotional reaction costs energy. When we are unaware of this, we spend our energy carelessly, leaving ourselves exhausted, frustrated, and drained. Silence, when chosen consciously, becomes a powerful shield. It protects not only your energy, but also your purpose. Think about how often you feel tired, not because of physical work, but because of mental and emotional overload. You replay conversations in your head. You think about what you should have said. You worry about how others perceive you. Much of this exhaustion comes from unnecessary engagement. Silence helps you step back from this cycle. When you choose not to respond to every comment or react to every situation, you conserve your inner resources. That saved energy can then be directed toward things that truly matter: your growth, your work, your relationships, and your peace. In daily interactions, not everyone is speaking from a place of understanding. Some people speak from their wounds, their insecurities, or their frustrations. When you engage with them emotionally, you unknowingly take on their emotional weight. Silence creates a boundary. It says, without words, I will not absorb what is not mine. This boundary is essential for emotional well-being. It allows you to remain grounded even when others are unsettled. At work, silence can protect your purpose in powerful ways. There will always be distractions, gossip, unnecessary debates, comparisons, and conflicts that have nothing to do with your actual goals. When you involve yourself in every discussion, your focus scatters. But when you choose silence and focus on your responsibilities, your purpose becomes clearer. You begin to invest your energy where it creates results instead of where it creates noise. Over time, your consistency and dedication speak louder than any argument ever could. In relationships, silence does not mean indifference. It means discernment. There are moments when communication strengthens bonds, but there are also moments when silence prevents damage. During heated arguments, words spoken in emotion often leave deep scars. Choosing silence in such moments protects the relationship from unnecessary harm. It gives both people time to cool down, reflect, and return with understanding. Silence becomes a space where emotions can settle and clarity can emerge. Silence also protects your purpose from premature exposure. Many people feel the urge to share their plans and dreams with everyone. While sharing can sometimes bring support, it can also invite doubt, criticism, and negative opinions that weaken motivation. When you keep your plans to yourself, you allow them to grow without interference. Just like a seed needs darkness and quiet to sprout, your goals need space and patience. Silence safeguards this delicate phase of growth. In moments of failure or setback, silence becomes a source of strength. Instead of explaining yourself to the world or justifying your situation, you turn inward. You learn, you adjust, and you continue. This inward focus preserves your energy and keeps you aligned with your purpose. When you stop seeking validation during difficult times, you build self-trust. That trust becomes the foundation for resilience. Social media has made it even more important to practice silence. Constant comparison, opinions, and the pressure to respond can drain energy quickly. Silence in this context means choosing when to engage and when to step away. It means not measuring your worth by likes or comments. By limiting unnecessary exposure, you protect your mental space. This protected space allows creativity, focus, and purpose to flourish. Silence also teaches you to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. When external noise reduces, internal awareness increases. You begin to recognize what truly matters to you. You notice when something aligns with your values and when it does not. This awareness helps you make decisions that support your purpose instead of distracting from it. Over time, people begin to sense this quiet strength. They notice that you do not get pulled into drama. They see that you move with intention rather than impulse. Your actions become more aligned, your words more meaningful, and your presence more grounded. Without announcing it, you embody clarity and purpose. Choosing silence is not about withdrawing from life. It is about engaging with life consciously. It is about protecting your limited energy so it can be used for meaningful work, authentic connections, and inner growth. When your energy is protected, your purpose stays strong. And when your purpose is strong, your life begins to move in a direction that feels natural, balanced, and deeply fulfilling. Real growth rarely announces itself. It does not arrive with applause, noise, or instant recognition. Most of the most meaningful transformations in life happen quietly, away from the eyes of others. Just like a seed buried deep in the soil, growth begins in darkness, silence, and patience. At first, nothing seems to be happening. On the surface, everything looks still. But underneath, something powerful is taking shape. In daily life, We often feel anxious when progress is not visible. We measure success by external signs, quick results, praise, approval, or comparison. When these signs are missing, we begin to doubt ourselves. We think that if people cannot see our progress, then maybe we are not moving forward at all. But growth does not need an audience. It needs consistency, it needs time, and it needs trust. Think about learning a new skill. In the beginning, the effort feels awkward and uncomfortable. You struggle, make mistakes, and feel slow. There is no immediate reward. No one claps when you practice quietly at home. Yet, each day of practice strengthens you in ways you cannot immediately see. One day, without realizing it, you notice that what once felt impossible now feels natural. That quiet effort, repeated over time, created visible change. The same applies to emotional growth. When you decide to respond with patience instead of anger, no one may notice. When you choose understanding over blame, it may go unseen. When you work on healing your fears, insecurities, and habits, there is no celebration, but internally, you are becoming stronger, calmer, and wiser. This inner growth shapes your future reactions, relationships, and decisions. It prepares you for moments when strength will be required. Even in careers, the most impactful growth happens behind the scenes. Late nights spent learning, improving, and refining skills often go unnoticed. While others may appear to be moving faster, your steady effort is building a strong foundation. When opportunity finally arrives, people see the success, but not the silent preparation behind it. They see the tree, but not the years it spent growing roots. Growth also happens quietly during difficult times. When life challenges you, it may feel like nothing is improving. But struggle stretches you. It builds resilience. It teaches patience and humility. Each time you endure without giving up, you are growing. Each time you learn from failure, instead of being defeated by it, your inner strength increases. These lessons remain with you long after the hardship passes. In relationships, growth often shows itself through small, silent changes. You listen more, you judge less, you become more present. These shifts may not be dramatic, but they deepen connections, they create trust. Over time, relationships become healthier and more meaningful because of these subtle adjustments. Nature constantly reminds us of this truth. A tree does not grow taller every day in visible ways, but its roots grow deep. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree becomes. When storms arrive, the tree stands firm not because of its height, but because of its hidden strength. Similarly, personal growth prepares you to face life's storms with stability and grace. One of the biggest mistakes we make is comparing our quiet growth to someone else's visible success. Comparison creates impatience and discouragement. But everyone's journey is different. Some seasons are for planting, some for nurturing, and some for harvesting. When you are in a planting season, silence is essential. It allows you to focus without distraction. It allows your growth to happen naturally. Trusting quiet growth requires faith in yourself and in the process. It means believing that your efforts matter even when results are delayed. It means showing up consistently even when motivation is low. It means choosing discipline over drama. Eventually, growth becomes visible. The seed breaks through the soil. The effort shows results. The change becomes evident. And when it does, it feels natural, not forced. You realize that every silent step mattered. quiet growth teaches humility. It reminds you that life is not about instant success, but about steady progress. When you learn to value this kind of growth, you stop rushing, you stop seeking constant validation, you focus on becoming better rather than being seen. In the end, the most powerful transformations are those that happen silently. They shape your character, strengthen your resilience, and align you with your true path. And when the time is right, your growth speaks for itself without needing a single word. One of the most freeing realizations in life is understanding that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. We often feel an unconscious pressure to explain ourselves, to share our feelings, plans, and opinions with anyone who asks or reacts. But your thoughts are not public property. They are personal, powerful, and deeply connected to your emotional well-being. Learning to protect them is not secrecy, it is self-respect. In daily life, notice how easily we give away our inner world. Someone asks a casual question, and we reveal our worries. Someone offers an opinion, and we start defending our choices. Someone doubts us, and we immediately feel the urge to explain our vision. Slowly, without realizing it, we allow people who do not truly understand us to influence how we think, feel, and decide. This is exhausting, and over time, it creates confusion and self-doubt. Think about sharing a dream too early. You are excited about a goal, full of hope and motivation. You share it with someone expecting encouragement. Instead, they respond with doubt, fear, or comparison. That's difficult. People like us don't succeed there. Be realistic. Even if they mean well, their words plant seeds of doubt. Your motivation weakens, not because the dream was wrong, but because the listener was not ready to hold it. This is why silence can be protection. Some dreams need nurturing, not opinions. In relationships, emotional boundaries are equally important. When you share your deepest feelings with someone who lacks empathy, you risk feeling misunderstood or judged. Not everyone has the emotional maturity to handle vulnerability. Sharing selectively does not make you distant, it makes you wise. You learn who listens without interrupting, who understands without correcting, and who supports without controlling. These are the people who deserve access to your inner world. At work, this principle becomes even more practical. Sharing every thought, frustration, or plan can work against you. Not every colleague needs to know your struggles or next move. When you speak less, people listen more carefully when you do speak. Your words gain weight. Your silence communicates confidence. You stop over-explaining and start trusting your actions to speak for you. Social media has blurred boundaries even further. There is constant pressure to share opinions, emotions, and personal moments. But not every moment needs to be shared, and not every opinion needs to be posted. Oversharing can invite unnecessary judgment, comparison, and negativity. Choosing silence in a noisy digital world is an act of self-care. It allows you to live experiences fully instead of performing them for validation. Protecting your thoughts also helps you understand yourself better. When you stop externalizing every feeling, you begin to process internally. You reflect, you gain clarity, you realize which thoughts are temporary emotions and which are deeper truths. This inner dialogue strengthens self-awareness and emotional stability. It is important to understand that silence is not dishonesty. You are not obligated to reveal everything to be authentic. Authenticity does not mean exposure, it means alignment. You can be true to yourself without explaining yourself to everyone. When you accept this, a deep sense of freedom arises. There is also power in mystery. When you do not constantly reveal your plans, people cannot interfere with them. When you do not constantly explain your feelings, people cannot manipulate them. Silence becomes a quiet form of strength. It shifts control back to you. In moments of conflict, this awareness becomes crucial. When someone provokes you, they often seek a reaction. By not giving them access to your thoughts or emotions, you break the cycle. You choose peace over proving a point. This choice protects your mental space and emotional energy. As you grow, you naturally become more selective. You realize that not everyone is meant to walk with you at every stage. Some people are seasonal. Some conversations are unnecessary. Some explanations are wasted. Letting go of the need to be understood by everyone is a sign of emotional maturity. When you honor your inner world, you build self-trust. You stop seeking approval and start relying on your own judgment. This confidence is quiet but powerful. It allows you to move through life with clarity and calm. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality. Guard them with care. Share them with those who listen with respect and kindness. And allow yourself the peace of knowing that you do not owe everyone an explanation. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is keep your thoughts safe, your heart protected, and your journey quietly your own. Life constantly places us at a crossroads between ego and wisdom. Ego demands immediate satisfaction. It wants to be right, to be heard, to be acknowledged, and to win. Wisdom, on the other hand, seeks peace. It looks beyond the moment and considers the long-term impact of our words and actions. Choosing wisdom over ego is not always easy, but it is one of the most transformative decisions we can make in daily life. In ordinary conversations, ego often speaks first. Someone disagrees with us, and the ego feels threatened. It pushes us to interrupt, to raise our voice, or to prove that we are correct. Even if we win the argument, what do we truly gain? A temporary sense of victory, perhaps, but often at the cost of harmony. Wisdom understands that being right is not always worth the emotional damage it causes. Sometimes, maintaining peace is far more valuable than proving a point. At home, ego shows up in subtle ways. A family member forgets something important or speaks carelessly. Ego wants to react with blame and frustration. Wisdom pauses and asks, is this moment worth creating tension? By choosing calm words or silence, you protect the relationship. You understand that love matters more than winning a disagreement. This choice creates an atmosphere of trust and safety where people feel respected rather than judged. In the workplace, ego can quietly sabotage growth. When feedback feels uncomfortable, ego interprets it as an attack. It becomes defensive, dismissive, or resentful. Wisdom, however, listens. It separates emotion from information. It asks, what can I learn from this? This mindset turns challenges into opportunities. Over time, those who choose wisdom earn respect because they respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. Ego also feeds on comparison. It measures worth by success, status, and recognition. When someone else succeeds, ego feels diminished. Wisdom sees things differently. It understands that everyone has their own path and timing. Instead of feeling threatened, wisdom feels inspired. It focuses on self-improvement rather than competition. This shift brings peace because you stop measuring your life against someone else's journey. In moments of anger, ego demands expression. It wants release through harsh words or impulsive actions. Wisdom recognizes that anger is a signal, not a command. It allows the emotion to pass without acting on it. This restraint is not suppression, it is self-control. By choosing wisdom, you avoid saying things you cannot take back. You protect your integrity and preserve relationships. Even in success, ego can be dangerous. It seeks validation and praise. It wants recognition for every achievement. Wisdom remains grounded. It appreciates success without becoming attached to it. It understands that pride can lead to downfall, while humility keeps growth alive. This balanced perspective allows you to enjoy achievements without losing inner peace. Choosing wisdom over ego also means accepting that you cannot control others. Ego tries to change people, to force understanding, to demand agreement. Wisdom accepts differences. It knows that peace comes from acceptance, not control. This acceptance frees you from unnecessary frustration and disappointment. In social situations, ego wants attention. It pushes us to speak even when there is nothing meaningful to add. Wisdom listens more than it speaks. It understands that presence is more powerful than performance. People feel safe and valued around those who listen deeply. This creates genuine connections rather than superficial interactions. One of the greatest strengths of wisdom is its patience. Ego wants immediate results. Wisdom trusts timing. When things do not go as planned, ego becomes anxious and frustrated. Wisdom remains calm, knowing that setbacks are part of growth. This calmness becomes a source of stability during uncertainty. Choosing wisdom over ego is a daily practice. It requires awareness, humility, and courage. It means letting go of the need to always be right. It means valuing peace over pride, understanding over judgment, and growth over validation. Over time, this choice transforms your inner world. Conflicts reduce, relationships deepen, decisions become clearer. You experience a quiet confidence that does not need approval. This is the power of wisdom. It creates peace not just around you, but within you.